Hello everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to my weekly behind-the-scenes DM-only livestream Crafting Annihilation, which I build, write, and prepare for our next session of Tomb of Annihilation. If you are playing characters Mannix, Celeste, Gillian, George, or Theron, go back from whence you came. This video is not meant for you. We're full of spoilers, but for the rest of you, welcome. We stream our Tomb of Annihilation sessions live on YouTube every Friday evening. Catch up on previous episodes on my YouTube page, as well as read weekly session recaps at roguewatson.com. If you would like to support the channel, check out patreon.com/roguewatson. Shoutouts to my platinum patrons, Andrew, Brian, Richard, and Joe. And gold patrons, RPG Papercrafts, Charming Grenade, Pretty Boy and Yuma, Marcos, David Vicente, Gilberto, Sean, a.k.a. Cert2B, Adam, Dead Lizard Lounge, and Aukshi. Thank you all for your support. For our campaign, we use Roll20.net for streaming. I use Open Broadcaster software Streamlabs. I almost made it! Curses! Curses! So close. Shout out to Sean, Cert2B, by the way, for an extensive, detailed YouTube comment on how to transform Theron's token into a multi-sided token to solve a lot of our druid kind of wild shape problems. I appreciate. I've been using Roll20 for years, as a lot of you know, because you've been watching our content for several years now, and I still don't know how to do a lot of stuff on Roll20. So I very much appreciate people that can politely and respectfully, which by now I know a lot of you are very much so, kind of instruct me on how to do things the proper way, which I do very much appreciate. I can show off that token. Let's see, what did I do with you? There you are, Theron. This did create an interesting dilemma on how to do HP. So I know rollable tokens are a thing, because obviously I use that for Azaka and stuff. They came with the Tomb of Annihilation purchase on Roll20. I never looked into how to make my own. So this was, and it was a really nice, like, huge 17-step process. He knew exactly that I needed to be, like, spelled out, like, this is what this tab is. I do appreciate that. But you can see here is the Theron multi-sided token, which is really, really spiffy. So now you can just transform if he wants to go to Crocodile. We can do that, and then we'll have to adjust the size on some of the giant ones. The interesting thing here is that, however, his HP bar doesn't change. So I think the best way to handle that is whenever he transforms would be to add another bar. So for example, if the let's see, if I shift click, does it just go to Theron? It does. So if I want to go to the Crocodile, I guess I can go here for now. So the Crocodile has, for example, 19 hits. Let's say 19 hit points. So you can go, let's see, 19, 19, and have that be tracked to nothing, just because I can change that on the token. And now it appears as like another bar in front of his, which I think will be really, really helpful and cool. I'll just have to remember to make it so that he can probably always see that third bar once I add it on there, but I think that will be really cool and solve all those problems. Hello, let me catch up on the chat. Juicy RPG Papercrafts, Michael, Arno, yes, I slayed the first Chosen in XCOM, super happy about that. That mission was fucking horrifying and awful, and I nearly had a full party wipe, probably one of the most challenging things I've ever done in XCOM 2. Calmrix, I'm glad you could come here and you're excited. Hello, Rob, as well. Is your music from the Fanbird site Roll20 shut down? If so, how do you still have that music? I guess it's not. I did notice that those did get shut down. No, these are all by Kevin MacLeod, which is from Incompetech, I believe. I use his music for pretty much all of my videos. It's all really good stuff that he just releases for free for anybody to use, and it's a lot of like good orchestral kind of mixes. So I've taken advantage of that. I did lose a lot of my like sound effects. So for example, early on, in our campaign, I was using that, like, you know, classic Velociraptor, you know, sound from Jurassic Park, and that one and a lot of those kind of sound effects did go away. So my music thing is a lot less now than it was. All right, so how do I change that back? Go like this. And I did change that to the default token. So hopefully I will remember to tell Theron about that. But I wanted to give a shout out to Cert2B for how to make a multi-sided token. I appreciate that a lot. Holy crap, chat! Let me catch up for a second. I made a player character to multi-sided token, but it broke his vision and some of the control. That's not good. For HP is the third bar. Yeah. Well, hopefully that won't be a I think I set up correctly, but I mean, I've certainly screwed up things before. He's got vision. He can see all the things. In fact, I wonder if I can go ahead and just mark see bar 3, even though bar 3 is not there, and make that the new default. That should work. Because even if he changes, let's see, if he changes to a different side, I think that keeps everything the same. So we'll see. I mean, stranger things have certainly happened when it comes to Roll20. I need to make that the new default token though, once I change it. I've been trying to do this for a long time. Yeah, you can upload music, which is really cool. That's something that's like an extra layer that I would like to do if I had more time. I just don't. Um, you'll notice if I ever have an extra music thing, that means I had a really lot of extra time to kind of deal with Roll20. For example, I like doing like a kind of haunted theme when the Sohn sisters have a scene, which I probably have one coming up, so I need to remember that. But otherwise, I just kind of use our same like battle music and break music and all that kind of stuff. So I tend to do that like once in a campaign and then kind of forget about the music. Let's see, what was I going to do? Default token again. So remove that one and use selected token. There we go. It should be set up properly there. Hello, Barry. I'm glad you're able to catch up. I'm always incredibly shocked and awed in a good way when people say they've managed to catch up on all of our campaign, because that is a lot of content. Hopefully good content. Hopefully. I know a lot of the stuff has not been the best. Technical difficulty issues abound with so many campaigns, and just different problems that we've had for campaigns. But the one thing is, obviously we've stayed the same core group and still have fun doing it. So there's no kind of interpersonal drama. It's all just usually technical problems that we run into in previous campaigns. But I always really appreciate and I'm impressed when people manage to go back and look through all of those. Very cool. Oh, so much music. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was a bummer. I think that happened once before with, I don't know if it was music or something else, where we lost a lot of the content. But I actually use, as you can see, I use a lot of Kevin MacLeod's stuff, which I wholeheartedly recommend. His produces a lot of really, really good music that I like quite a bit, including our intro music, our break music, and our outro music, which you see a lot. All right, so let's go over what happened last time, because I think it went pretty well. It ended up being a big fight, which I mentioned on my Patreon page that I wasn't keen on just turning this into a large-scale battle, but it was kind of always going to be that way. I still wanted to create some cool, like, things around that battle, though, and I think it actually went off pretty well, considering it's always tricky as a DM to take control away of the players and have them just sit and watch something. This is an interesting, like, game design philosophy that actual video game designers kind of struggle with for the most part, is the difference between a cutscene and just having something happen but letting the player still run around and do stuff. I remember Kevin Levine from the Bioshock dev, Irrational, mentions that he didn't like using cutscenes at all. He always just wanted to have stuff happen in the environment, and it was up to the player to actually turn and look in that direction, for example, although I think there probably are certainly cutscenes in those games. So in D&D's terms, it's always that trick of, like, if the players want to jump in and do something, they certainly can, but otherwise I'm going to kind of direct this scene. And that was part of having Gillian come up and Azaka come up, and then do that kind of opening fight, and then the players could all kind of sneak up. And I thought it went really fun the way they kind of coordinated almost accidentally, where Gillian was going to tackle Azaka under the water, and Celeste did her, like, blinding light and all that stuff. Interestingly, this party is actually not great against hordes of little guys, unlike previous parties we've had, because we do not have a big, like, glass cannon, wizard, or sorcerer with big AoE attacks. I think the closest thing to that is Gillian with Shatter, which is decently effective against Grung, but this actually proved to be kind of a tough fight for the players. Plus, I'm not terribly enthused about the way Grungs are built, which is low AC, at least, the little Grungs are whatever, they're just bullshit. The Grung Elite Warriors still have low AC, still don't do a lot of damage, and they just have a fuck ton of hit points, which doesn't necessarily make for a great fight. And I get that these are just kind of hordes of creatures, so they're not individually meant to be that strong, but I do feel like this fight drug on a little long, to where I really probably should have just shaved off some hit points. And if you notice, I think at the end I started actually flubbing their hit points to where it was like, yeah, they just die. Including, I believe, when Gillian cast that Shatter spell, I just have like, well, if they fail, they die. I'm not going to try here and individually do their hit points. And another reason I did that which was really frustrating for me, was Roll20 was lagging so bad for this fight because this is a huge map and there's a lot of tokens both on the main layer and the GM layer, which I should have nuked. I didn't need all these tokens here. And I didn't realize it would slow things down that much. Usually Roll20 lags a little bit, like, 4 or 5 seconds whenever I try to do a number, specifically when I try to alter hit points. It's never that big of a deal. But this time, Friday night, I mean, it was like bad. It was like 15 seconds or something where I was just sitting there going, holy shit, and everybody's just waiting on me because as the DM, you've got to, react to every single round. It's not like I can take a break. And I felt so bad and so frustrated about the fact that it was taking so long, and I was trying to keep things going and keep the momentum going because battles already take a long time. This one was already dragging on a while, and then compounding that was the fact that Roll20 was taking a very, very long time, which I had not anticipated for. I think the good news is I think that should be the only problem we have with it because I believe this is the single biggest battle map in the campaign, as well as having the most amount of tokens. So I don't think we'll run into that problem again. It is great that we've stayed together. I've probably discussed this before, but if you're a decently newcomer to the channel, we are old friends from literally grade school days, from all of us, and then it's that and then our wives, essentially. We've actually gotten Raymond's wife to play with us once on a one-shot, too, if you can dig that one up. I believe it was the Den of the Rotten Kings. She's got a trickier schedule where it's harder for her to be able to do regular D&D, so she hasn't formally joined our group, but she did play with us one time, which was fun. So, but yeah, we are very old friends. We play together all the time. Me, Raymond, and Chris play video games all the time. We're currently playing through Apex Legends, and we're god-awful, but we're having fun with it. But D&D is our big love, and D&D is a big reason that we can still stay together, even though we all live far apart. We're all, in our 30s now, and it's just a really fun way for us to get together. So that's a brief backstory on my excellent gaming group. That's like the first recipe of success for D&D. Like you can be planned, you can be a great storyteller. All of that really, all of that matters, but none of that matters as much as having just a good group to play with. And that's the best thing. Let's see that. Grung where the gun. What's funny is the players never knew that was the name of the place either. I mentioned you are done with, what was it called? Dung Grung Lung. And the player's like, oh, that's what it's called? Because, again, none of the Grung talked to them or anything. If you notice, I cheated a little bit at the end of this one by having the staff that the red Grung surrendered be able to kind of communicate with the players, because I really felt like they were going to be... they could probably pick up the fact that the Grung were surrendering, but I really wanted to communicate the fact that, A, you can make it out of here, and then B, this staff lets you essentially cut through the maze and not have to bullshit make your way back out again. I joked last time it was like that Skyrim, you pull a lever at the end of the dungeon and then the wall opens up and you're like, oh, we're back at the entrance. It's not, terribly immersive, but it works gameplay-wise very well. I did like the way the players came together with Azaka being able to either not rein her in or finally rein her in, and that was kind of the way I was going to play her, is as kind of a loose cannon, but definitely as a force to tipping the combat in the players' direction. It was funny how much they were just stymied on the outside, though. Like, Theron was able to leap in there and do wild shape and attack, but otherwise it was basically him and Gillian, and then the rest were all caught just fighting those same orange grung on the outside, and they were just way too many hit points, so I just thought that drug on a little too long. But I like the way they handled Azaka. I like the way that Kales kind of calmed her down, and if you notice, I did not have Kales roll another persuasion check to get Azaka off the king because, well, A, she'd already rolled a 20 before and kind of gotten through to her, and B, I wanted that to happen. And if a player tells you about something and you want that to happen as a DM, like, don't make them roll. The rule is don't make them roll if you want them to have a chance of success or have a chance at failure. If you just want it to happen or you don't want it to happen, then don't have them roll. So I just allowed that previous roll to have that happen. I needed the grung to surrender here. That was pretty much the only chance the players are going to make it out alive, because there's just so many other grung coming in, and they earned it. They fought and killed everything in here. Hilariously enough, they didn't take out the sorcerer grung, but also hilariously enough, that red grung has just bullshit spells. So many enemies in D&D have just the most bullshit. Like, I get being thematic and everything, but they'll have create or destroy water or some other things. It's like, speak with dead or ceremony, just why would an NPC have these spells if they're primarily used in combat? It's not going to be useful. We've got bark skin, cure wounds. What a pain in the ass. Nobody likes fighting enemies that heal other enemies. That's annoying. I don't like doing it. I cast Spike Growth once and then I think forgot about it, or maybe it damaged somebody. I don't know. I was not impressed. What's funny is Theron was immediately like, "Oh, we should go after the spellcaster," which is usually what you do. But then the spellcaster ended up being so stupid, which that's on me. I should have prepped better spells. I just had a lot going on. I didn't think about it. Also says he's a 9th level spellcaster. I'm pretty sure that's not correct. He only has 3 level spells, so I don't think that was right. He ended up just throwing his dagger, so it wasn't a big deal. But the players did solve everything here. They got, hello, Giant Kolk. Ooh, boy. Kolkuan. Welcome aboard. They managed to solve everything here. They got some really good loot, which I had to add because Tomb of Annihilation has bullshit for loot. It has like almost no loot at all. They got the Circlet of Blasting off the king, which was the king's crown, which I really just gave to the players because I don't think they were going to snatch the crown at first. And I was like, that crown's pretty good. The staff that the Red Grung wields is a magical druid staff, which is definitely meant for Theron. Theron has not had a single magic item yet. I've been tracking that in my notes. I still want to come up with something cool for him to use with Wild Shape, but at least this gives him a chance to cast some more spells in druid form and make it so he doesn't necessarily have to Wild Shape every time. And then the other thing will be the equivalent of one of those animal figurines that you can throw and it becomes an animal that's like under your control. That was the giant frog statue that I think Kaless also snatched that one. Again, just trying to give the players some more fun loot because they deserve it after all this. And since I'm not rewarding them with XP either, I feel like loot is even more important as a reward mechanism, since XP is just purely up to me, essentially. Let's see. Discard the HP from time to time. Yeah, and I've mentioned that before. That's the only... Because I use Roll20 and because I pretty much put every roll publicly out there, the only thing I can really do the behind-the-scenes fudging with is enemy HP. That's like the one thing... I mean, I guess enemy abilities are hidden until I start using them. But that's the one number that's really hidden from the players. You all see these bars because you see it from my perspective. The players do not see any of these bars on the tokens. They just see the enemy's picture, so they have no idea what the hit points are like. So that's definitely something. And I have fudged that quite a bit. I usually don't fudge it the other direction. It would be pretty rare when somebody would kill somebody and I leave them alive for another round or two. But I fudge it a lot in the... Hey, Michael! Nice! Welcome to the Patreon. Thank you so much. I fudge it the other way because it's especially when fights are going too long. It's very useful to be able to just nuke that opponent. And in the case of like when Gillian cast the Shatter spell, just... I forgot what damage. It was like 6 damage, and they all have an average of like 9 hit points. And then we would have massive damage rules. Like, these are just way too many rolls. I'm not going to sit there and try to calculate all that individually and really number crunch it. That's not fun for anybody. What's more fun is she casts a big AoE spell, and a bunch of fucking frog guys die. That's going to be fun, and that keeps the pacing going. So that's also how I manage to shift things either in the player's favor or against them. Usually in their favor, and usually because combat always takes a while. Especially with the amount of NPCs we had here. Holy crap, that was a bunch. And unfortunately, the number of NPCs I have, which I've always talked about how, I mean, it's fun as a DM to be able to play, sort of, but I'm very cognizant that I don't want to be just playing with myself in terms of I'm rolling against, I'm playing NPC allies against enemies. And then all the players kind of start losing interest. So I'm very cognizant about either trying to take away NPCs, for example, Inette and Vorn at the beginning here, they just had the Tabaxi with them, and now they just regained Azaka, and they gained a new ally with Alama. So I think right now we may be at peak NPC. If I go back to my kind of gray grid here. So you can see here we've got our 5 players. We've got Vorn, we've got Inette, we've got the Tabaxi, we've gained Azaka and Alama. I'm pretty sure we are at peak NPC party members, and I'm very aware of that. And I think as soon as the players make it back to the town for the first time, the Tabaxi will probably say, peace, see ya, like, we're good. Azaka will stay with the players, obviously, until they complete her quest, I think. Inette will probably also peace out because I'm going to put the teleporter in the heart of Ubtao, so she'll have kind of completed her personal quest, I guess. And then Alama will peace out. Well, I guess we'll talk about that in a second because they're about to go to the Wreck of the Star Goddess next. So I'm trying to come up with ways that party members have completion states. It's not like they just join the party indefinitely. Most of these party members, kind of like Undril, are designed to stay with the party until they fulfill their personal quests, and then they don't really need to be adventuring anymore. Roll HP for all enemies anyways. You can always claim it just was a low HP enemy roll. Yeah, I do too. Well, I say that. Occasionally, if I need to throw enemies on the board or I just have a shit ton of enemies, I might not individually roll, but usually I'll roll. It issues all Sunday down on Roll20. Yeah, sometimes we just have issues in general. I have a feeling that one was due to just the size of the map and the amount of tokens on there. I was just unprepared for how much lag there would be, and unfortunately, it was a big combat sequence. So like it was just me trying to deal with all those numbers, and there were so many, like everything was just really, really frustrating. So hopefully I didn't come off as too frustrated. I always try to, put on a good game face, even if things are going badly for whatever reason. But that one was particularly frustrating for me because I'm trying to keep, I'm trying to run everything, keep the pace going, and people are rolling, and I'm not even seeing it for like another 10 seconds. I'm just like, all right, come on, Roll20, get with the program. I have a great group that meets around the table weekly. Been together 6 years now. Nice. Gone through many WotC campaigns, loving it. That's awesome, Rob. That's really cool. I have not played physical D&D since high school, and that was with a completely different group. We met in the back of like an anime shop. I think one of the guys had a parents owned like an anime shop. We literally met in the back of it and played second edition D&D because at the time, this is dating how old I am. Third edition had just come out, and it was that like, oh, fuck third edition, that's so new and stupid, we're playing second edition. Like that was 100% the attitude. We're freaking whatever age we're, probably 16. I didn't play very many times, but that was my one brief flirt with D&D was second edition. Also played the shit out of Neverwinter Nights, and I was like, wait, third edition is great. And then played not until 5th edition came out. But that's awesome. I have not, since we've been playing D&D together, since whatever it was, 2015, I think, 2014, online, I have not actually played physical D&D with the group yet. Because we do not get together but maybe twice a year, I think on New Year's, and then we all go to PAX South together. And neither of those we do D&D on. So it's something I've always thought about doing, but because I use Roll20 for everything, I feel like we would just be totally lost trying to play it, like with actual pen and paper sheets, but that's really cool. You may need to do it. Usually watch you in the office. Oh no, I'm taking you away from work. I know. Don't play with yourself. I play the NPCs, but in fights, the players have them attack and roll, etc. I've considered this. I have considered this. I'm not totally on board with it because I do like the NPCs to have. What I'll do is the NPCs will essentially be soft controlled by the player. So for the most part, assuming they have a good role-playing relationship, the players can essentially direct the NPCs to do whatever. There are sequences. I know with Storm King's Thunder, Chris had us roll like the NPCs when we were like defending a town or something. That worked out pretty well. But for ongoing, I'm not sure. I just feel like that would be too much. And then like, which ones do you decide? Who gets to control what? Like right now, it makes sense for only pretty much Celeste to control both Tabaxi because she's the one that cares about him. But then she's also got Vorn, so like she's actually would basically control all of them RP wise. So it doesn't quite fit as well. I'd be afraid that my PCs would literally like walk the Tabaxi off a cliff. Yeah, I did do that, Arno. I deleted dead tokens. Somebody mentioned that in the chat. Gaming table with a TV in it for Roll20. I need pictures of that, Michael. That's amazing. I've seen people use those visual aids like that and have some really, really sexy setups where they can use like a projector or whatever else to have those visual aids on there. That's something that I could definitely get into doing that. That would be the next evolution, but we just don't get together very often physically. So let's talk about where we're going next. Because I just put Dungrung in the middle of the swamp. That was not even a thing I was planning on using. They were originally going to go... So they surprised me originally. They were going to go from Abala to Heart of Ubtao, which was the longest way to go, instead of Oralunga, which I'm still in the middle of prepping, and I'm not prepped yet because we're now a long ways away. And I gave them that NPC that is found in the Fane of the Night Serpent because I thought that was a really good way to bring them to the wreck of the Star Goddess. Not only to identify what the hell this is, but to have an actual NPC with a quest, which you all will probably have to remind me because I will forget. That I actually added this as a quest, which we have not actually done our quests very much here. This is something I do custom in our Roll20 campaigns, mainly to help both the players and me remember what the hell's going on. I literally had like a video game style quest journal here that's like, investigate the heart of Ubtao and retrieve Vorn, which this is not yet completed because technically they have to turn him into Wakanga in Port Nyanzaru. Hunt the pirates, chart their locations of Orlung and Nangalore. This basically states everything they need to do because, the campaign will last over a year, so you need to remember how to freaking do all these things. And I finally added a quest, which according to here, I think we haven't done one since we turned in Undril to Camp Vengeance, which was because nothing that happened in Mabala was actually a formal quest. I'm actually adding this one as a quest, even though the players are about to do it anyway, to search for survivors at the wreck of the Star Goddess. It's a shame this kind of cuts it off here if I make it bigger. There we go. Which they got from Alama, and then they can... you just sent me a photo. Nice. Thank you. I'll check that out after the stream. Is that the pictures of the Roll20 board? Basically just give them a formal quest to actually go here, even though they're doing that right away anyway. Usually quests are useful if they're, especially in the beginning of the game when they were in the city and they just had a whole bunch of quests hit them, to tell them what to do. It's less useful now that they're immediately heading to this next location, but I'm adding it here anyway just to make it a formal quest. So they've told me after Dungrunglung, which they made it out, they are going to the wreck of the Star Goddess, which that'll be really interesting to see then if they decide, okay, do we now make it over to the heart of Ubtao, or do we just go ahead and go up to Oralunga because now that we're closer to that one? What the players don't know, and what I do know, is that the heart of Ubtao is a non-combat location. It is a 100% role-playing location, a pretty interesting one I'm looking forward to with a freaking lich. And those of you who watched our Princes of the Apocalypse campaign know I love role-playing liches, friendly liches, semi-friendly liches, who actually was one of the quest givers for this entire campaign, which is a fun D&D Cinematic Universe tie-in. It also contains a portal they will be able to use to return to Port Nyanzaru, which will be important because they can turn in a bunch of NPCs, they can turn in the Wakanga quest, they can obviously stock up on things. So that's a really useful place to have because right now the only other safe place they have is Camp Vengeance. Now, one thing I'm very aware of, and Chris literally told me this after the stream ended, is that they are in dire need of a long rest right now. They have been strung out quite a bit. You all know my house rules, which is you do not get to long rest in the jungle. You only short rest. So that turns pretty much all of Chult into one big dungeon crawl, which I think makes the hex crawling a lot more interesting. And it's been working pretty well so far in that they can basically long rest whenever they make it to a location. So I think I let them long rest in Camp Righteous, although that had consequences that made them lose Azaka. I believe they long rested somewhere around Yeliark. They were able to long rest twice in Camp Vengeance. But I did not let them long rest in Mabala, nor Dungrunglung. So now we have not long rested since Camp Vengeance. And someone will have to look at the session notes for that. But it has been, I think we spent 3 sessions in Mabala and 2 in Dungrunglung. I think it's literally been like 2 real world months, however many sessions in game, that the players have long rested in. So I feel them. It's been a long time coming. So I believe what I'm going to do is give them our first kind of random encounter that's basically going to result in a long rest. And this is kind of a fun one that I've had planned for a while, which, random encounters are not all combat. They don't have to be fights. They can be whatever the hell. And the book is the same way. In the book it says, they can find plants or, fellow explorers or whatever else. That doesn't have to be just kind of a rampaging ghoul horde or whatever. Or Grung in our case. I think what I'm going to do, and they do have a number of, it is 4 hexes, 1, 2, 3, 4 to get to the wreck of the Star Goddess. So that's 3 possible encounters. Because I don't have them in, I don't count actual entering the tile of a location as an encounter. So 3 possible encounters they can have. Usually, when they exit a location, that's a freebie. So really, it's 2 encounters. But I think this time, and there's actually a river right here, which I'm gonna use. I'm gonna kind of flavor, or I'll probably do it here actually. Maybe not the river. Or maybe I will do it in the river. Anyway, I'm probably gonna have one night encounter with a bunch of grung trying to sneak into their camp, and 6 sessions in Siege of Camp Vengeance 2. Thank you, Barry. Jesus, that's a long time without a long rest. That's a long time. Like, and you all know I'm a pretty nice DM, but that is a long time without a long rest. And they've done pretty well without it, but it's gotten to the point, it's funny, the opposite of Storm King's Thunder, where like we were just long resting like crazy because it's all a huge map. Whereas here, players are out of hit dice, for example. Like George has like 9 hit points and no hit dice. So like it's getting fucking down there. I think the first thing I'm going to do is have a Grung Night Raid come in with the idea that they're not necessarily wanting to fight the party, they're wanting to sneak in and steal the crown back and sneak back out. Obviously, the party will get a chance to have perception rolls, and the Grung will probably fight, but then mostly that would probably turn into a fleeing situation. So they would just try to fight them off. Let's see, I think I started it in this map. Oh yeah, we're super zoomed in. So I'm going to have one encounter prepped that night. This was left over from the centipede, the swarm of centipedes. Make sure Theron's got his new one on there. Let's see, who else do we have? We also gained Zaka and a llama. That's a lot of fucking people. Reusing maps for the win. Let's see, Zaka and a llama. I could just drag their tokens, but I don't think I actually have one for a llama. She's just a standard scout. Temporary NPC at best. This is not the map. That was the Shambling Mound map. This is the one. These maps should have a lot less lag. Okay. Why do some of these people have sight? Do you have sight? Nope. Does Azaka? Yes. You don't need sight. Stop that. She still has like a glow around her though. It's odd. Oh, because she emits light. She's a literal beacon of light. There we go. I roll for the weather, which is how the players can rest during the hex crawl. I think they would usually be able to rest though, right? Because bad weather is pretty is more uncommon. I think it always rains. I think we need a few more bed rolls here. How comfortable is everybody getting with each other by now? Right there. So we gained 2 people, right? So I think I put the Tabaxi like over here. I'll need to update their guarding order since they have more NPCs now. Let's put Kales here. Net's fine. I don't know. Killian. Azaka probably not even gonna sleep on a bedroll. She's fucking hardcore. Let me put the newbie out there. Oh, in which case I've got too many bedrolls, don't I? I'll delete that one. And the idea here will be the Grung will sneak into the camp, which, let's see, do I have random encounters? Where is that? Chapter 2. I wonder if that's Expedition Begins. This is all the hex crawl. Random encounters, wilderness encounters. Alright, so the Grung, which I think we've already had this encounter once, but I think it's just thematic to have another. And I actually I'm using the travelogue at kevin-whitaker.net/TOA-travel. And I just rolled that, and I'm using the same seed that I've been using for the entire campaign to kind of basically gauge like how often encounters should occur and an idea of which ones to use, although obviously I'll override whichever ones I feel like are interesting. And I actually did roll Grung on this next one. Alright, 2d6 Grung, led by a Grung elite warrior. If the encounter occurs while the party is camped, the Grung spotted the characters early in the day and have shadowed them unseen. Each character standing watch must succeed on a DC 14 perception check, made with disadvantage because of the noise of the jungle at night. So I could probably keep that part of it. Let's see, how many Grung are there, game? 2d6. 6 Grung. That seems pretty average. 6 Grung and a Grung Elite Warrior. So those will be the ones sneaking into the camp. With the idea that they just want to stealthily get in, grab that crown back, so I'll need to identify which PC is actually going to use that crown. God, token seems so much bigger now that we're off that 10-foot map. And not stick around for a straight-up fight if they can help it. Let's see, how many did I say? 6 Grung? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the Elite Warrior. I don't need you to show me the nameplates. Let's roll some hit points, why not? Although, I don't know if it's worth rolling hit points for things that have 11 HP. It seems like a bit of a waste. Because who cares, really? Yeah, I'm not going to roll hit points for them. I'll roll hit points for this one. But in any case, if they get caught and get into a fight, their main goal is just to get the hell out of here. So I don't know how much of a fight this will actually be. I just want to get the message across that the Grung are not happy with the players stealing all of the, or taking all that stuff, especially the crown. The staff was surrendered, and then they took the little frog statuette, but the crown was, which I definitely teased to the players a little bit extra. 55. Of course, I just said these guys have way too much hit points anyway. And then, like I said, I'll need to figure out who's on watch. Let's see, where are we? Session 25. So a perception check. I'm gonna write that down as a DC 14. I don't know if I'll do disadvantage. That seems kind of dumb. Maybe it depends on if they have like dark vision or something. I could do disadvantage. And the Grung will be sneaking in. I'll have to move their tokens live to see who's got the crown. I would expect Mannix would want the crown once they figure out what it does, because that would give him a useful combat maneuver thing he could do, but it can be used by anybody, so it'll be interesting to see who wants to fight over it. So that's one encounter. The other encounter that I have planned, that's a great map. Is it from the module? Did you find it? This map is from... I've mentioned this before, but it's been a while. I think this one is from Sarkris. I think. Syrkres, I believe, who has a Patreon. Syrkres. Yeah, Syrkres makes a lot of really good battle maps, I believe. Is that right? No, I misspelled that, sorry. Sir Chris. How the fuck do you spell his name? People, you gotta have your names, come on. Jesus Christ, I can't spell it. Syrkres? Yes, there it is. Syrkres. There's patreon.com/Sarkris, or he's on Reddit, I don't know. They make a lot of good battle maps, including good jungle maps. Such as this one. I believe this is one made by them. I'm not 100% sure, but that's where I typically get a lot of my battle maps. The other ones I get from... actually, I take it back. I think this one... I know this is from Sarkris. These jungle maps here, this one may actually be from a Roll20 Marketplace purchase, now that I think about it. I did actually... let's see, Jungle 1... Under Jungle 1? I think this might be from the Roll... Yeah, this is from... Well, shoot, I say that, now I can't find it. I think this might be from Roll20 Marketplace. This certainly looks like it. I don't know how well you can see with the overlay that I'm kind of mousing over these, but... I finally did purchase a couple of these, so those are pretty good. These are by Gabriel Picard. I can't find this exact one, but I think it's in there. Good question, though. I recommend both those people. Gabriel, Picard, yeah. Any intentions of leading them to the Wormheart Mine? Yes. That's further in the campaign, but they've already met the two dwarves that have to do with the Wormheart Mine, and that's actually tied into Theron's backstory, which we presented way back in, I think, just session 1. where his Theron's like best childhood best friend is Hugh Hackenstone, and Hugh led the expedition into the Wormheart Mine. It went terrible. He lost his arm, and he pleaded to Theron to help them. But basically, I scheduled it where the players need to chart the locations of Nangalore and Oralunga, and their reward for doing that will be to gain access to the ship that they arrived on Chult in, the Brazen Pegasus. And then once they have that ship, then they can easily get to the Pirate Cove and follow up with that quest, as well as land a lot closer to Wormheart Mine and follow up with that quest. So that's all kind of basically that's the second half of this exploration campaign. We're in the first half still, which is the kind of upper jungle exploration. That's kind of the pacing I wanted to set. So it's still open world where the players can choose where to go, but I still put up some roadblocks and gates in order to better kind of just schedule things out, because I mean some of these areas are so far away, and I don't want to just mess with having to do just giant fucking hex crawls. It's going to take up all of our time. I wanted to try to condense things together, highlight the jungle exploration in the top half, and then we'll do the ship part of it with, like I said, Jahaka Anchorage and all, and that'll probably be closer to level 6 at that point, which the players are still level 4 at this right now, and I want to try to drag on level 4 a little bit longer if I can. So this is one encounter. The other encounter will be them meeting a bunch of friendly jungle-dwelling lizard folk who are going to have some deep, deep southern accents, because I am from Texas and I can do a pretty damn good southern accent. Let's say a straight up like redneck accent too. We can definitely gonna throw that out there. It's gonna be a family of dinosaur ranchers. They're lizard folk who ranch like Hadrosaurus. The players are gonna meet them, and it's designed for a pure role playing encounter. And hopefully and I'll definitely steer them in the right direction. But if the players play their cards right and they're not just super antagonistic dicks, which players can be, then the lizard folk will actually offer that they can ride back with them to their ranch and essentially like sleep at their barn and get a good night's rest and all that, so they can get a long rest out of it will be the ultimate goal. They will also learn that Yuan Ti have at least one group traveled up south to north, which is a clue that Yuan Ti are at Oralunga. So that'll be the tease there. So that'll be the things they learn, and that's just going to be a fun little random encounter. I think those will be the only two that I'll have, and like I said, that one's not meant to be a combat encounter at all. That's meant to get the players long resting, and that's probably how I'll be able to do it, because the players are so weak physically and low on health, low on short rest, that as soon as they realize these lizard folk can offer them a respite, then they will probably, I would assume, take it up. So I'll throw one last little grung encounter here, but like I said, this is not meant to be a full-blown combat encounter so much as the grung try to sneak in, steal that crown, and sneak out, with the caveat that players will catch them at some point. I don't want to literally have them wake up and the grung stole your crown. Like that's shitty. It'll just depend on, the perception check will depend on how early they catch the grung and where the grung are positioned. Essentially, if they catch them, if they make the perception check, they'll be able to catch them like right when they're sneaking to camp. If they fail it, then the one lifting the crown off the person's head will probably wake them up. Hugh, Jahakabe. Yes, that's all planned. I definitely want to run those locations. It's all going to be later on in the campaign. I don't know the exact order in which we're going to tackle things. That's part of the joy of having this kind of limited open world scenario. The nice thing as a DM is, like, yes, it's kind of open world, but because it's a hex crawl here, I can easily plan for just kind of a certain radius around the player. So, for example, I don't have to plan, Oralunga right now, because I know we're not getting there soon, but we might go there after Wreck of the Star Goddess. So I've got those two encounters planned, and then otherwise they'll make it to Wreck of the Star Goddess, fully healed, hopefully, fully long rested. Although I believe they only get half the hit dice back in a long rest, right? So you don't actually get like 100% everything on a long rest. So even then, they still could use probably another long rest after that. Wreck of the Star Goddess does have a battle map. As you can see here. And this is an interesting location that's also, I have a feeling, going to be difficult to pull off in Roll20, because Roll20 does not do elevation very well. It is a top-down battle map, and it's very hard to come up with elevation. I really wish there was some kind of a side view. A lot of times when they have these kind of multi-layered maps, they'll give you like a side view that kind of shows the distance. Unfortunately, they're not doing it here. I set up. Don't they just use Vorn now? What do they use Vorn for? I set up a rollable table, which includes 20% chance for dry weather. You keep the grung in your back pocket, trying to get the crown back like once every third session or so. Yeah, I don't want to overuse it too much, mainly because they're just now out of the swamp, and they're still close enough where the grung could do that. And, you know, grung are pretty weak for the most part, and they're, like I said, this is a pretty pathetic attempt for them to try to steal it back. I think probably once the players, and maybe the players do something fun, like they'll beat the shit out of the grung and then tell them, like, yeah, you go back and you tell them, don't fuck with us. At that point, that would stop all the grung attacks, but I could use it as a back pocket thing. I don't think grung are terribly resourceful, so this would just be a slight consequence for the players to stealing that crown. Half your total hit dice on a long rest. Yeah, that's brutal. I think I might do that. Yeah, we should probably add a text field of, let's see, how does this one work, actually? So, Alama is part of this crew. She was kidnapped. This is a giant sky ship that crashed in the trees. I believe this piece is 50 feet up in the air. Yes, the stern is 50 feet up. The midsection is 15 feet higher than that, so 65 feet in the air. And the bow, I don't know nautical terms, I just know the bow is the front, stern's the back, is another 10 feet above the middle section, which would put it at 75 feet up in the air. That's a big fucking tree, by the way. That's a monster tree. And the only thing that's here is there's a bunch of ghouls on the bottom, and then there's an encounter with 3 gorillan zombies, which we have not seen yet. Fun fact, my players have fought gorillans before, so it'd be fun to actually put zombies in here, which I don't know how different zombies are versus the regular. Let's see, let's look that up real quick. Is it the same CR and everything? They're probably less AC. Yeah, same hit points, less armor class. It's actually a lower CR rating, so they're actually easier than regular gorillans. They do have the undead fortitude, which is a hilarious pain in the ass. Otherwise, they do the same damage. That's weird. The claws only have 5-foot reach. Did their arms get shorter? And for some reason, their average damage... their claw turned into a 1d4 instead of a 1d6. Is that right? That's an odd change. Their zombie claws got... the zombiness dulled their claws. Let's see, 1d4 plus 4, sure is. Okay, odd. So the gorillan zombies are actually, except for their poison immunities and undead fortitude, are actually a bit easier than normal gorillans. They're also slightly slower, but not much slower. They're pretty fucking fast for zombies. We can go ahead and roll for their hit points. But the tricky thing is here, I want to try to do both. Oh, Vorn for Guarding at Night. Yeah. That's true. Vorn would still roll a perception check. What is Vorn's perception? But that's a good point. Let's see. Vorn, what is your perception like? +0 with a passive perception of 10. He's actually not a great guard. I don't know if he would... I guess he could roll an active perception check. He does have dark vision and blind sight, so I'd probably not do the disadvantage. He would just have a straight-up perception roll. So, yeah, I could probably use that. Especially if the players like miss out on anything, I could have him like alert them. Yeah. That's a good point. For Vorn, I'll need to keep that in mind. So for this situation, this is a rescue mission, and I want to try to create the tension of these people on the ship are very much exhausted. I think they literally have 4 levels of exhaustion. They're not doing very good. The ship crashed, I think, like a week ago or something. They've been able to catch rainwater, but there's no real food, and they're kind of just stuck up here. And there's a bunch of undead below because a lot of them died, fell out of the ship when it crashed, and became zombies, and then obviously a bunch of ghouls came and ate a bunch of people. So there's just a bunch of undead roaming below them, and then these gorilla zombies are also have been attracted by what's going on. So Overwatch, yeah, Overwatch mode. Um, so what I want to do is try to time it right, where like as soon as the players start climbing up the tree to rescue everybody, that's when the gorilla zombies come. And it's going to be hopefully an interesting dynamic with the gorilla zombies, like literally killing all these NPCs while the players try to come up and save as many as they can. It's raining, man. But meanwhile, I've got another map for the below ground because I don't think I want to do this one as the same map. I think that would be too confusing. So instead, I made this Star Goddess Jungle map. Not the most attractive, but I tried to picture what would the jungle floor level look like with this giant tree around. I don't think I've even done dynamic lighting on this map. I probably should do that. The players are approaching from the east, more or less. And then I need to make some more ghouls and zombies here. How many actual ghouls are there supposed to be? Let's see. Regular Star Goddess. Oh, that's true. If I make it evening, that would be even more interesting. Oh, I think it's going to be evening. I think that would be pretty interesting. Because like by the time they travel most of the way, and it's like sunset approaching, and then evening. Yeah, that could be interesting. There are. Yeah, there's the NPCs. Okay, undead scavengers. There's 8 ghouls lurking in the foliage below the wreck. Each ghoul is a small blue triangle tattooed on its forehead, the symbol of Rosnisi. Ghouls have 3/4 cover from trees. They withdraw from the area temporarily if the situation gets too hot. I didn't realize ghouls were smart enough to retreat. Is that true? Yeah, they have intelligence of 7. They're smarter than Kaless, I think. So yeah, I guess they probably would pull back. 8 ghouls, and then 3 gorilla zombies attack a few minutes after the characters climb up to the wreck. I'm not going to do a few minutes because they're probably going to be in combat. The other thing I can do is when the players initiate combat here, which they can try to stealth it as much as they can, but Alama, like somebody's going to call out. Alama's probably going to fuck things up. It's because she's going to be like, oh, hey, is anybody... Or somebody up there will probably be like, is anyone down there? Help us. And then Alama will probably call out, and that'll start a big combat sequence. And that'll start things in earnest, because during the player's combat with these enemies down here, I'm just trying to gauge the timing and not have the gorilla zombies appear too quickly to where the players have no chance of rescuing anybody. But at some point, like when the players reach the tree, which is hopefully while the combat's still going on in the first level, maybe I'll have more enemies appear during that combat sequence. Then the gorilla zombies appear, and I might have to move players onto like 2 different levels. I believe George still has his ring of or gloves of climbing, which will help him climb. I don't think it's actually a skill check involved. For climbing purposes, I think it actually mentions that. Climbing up the wreck to the wreck is relatively easy thanks to me. Oh, there is a successful DC 10 athletics check is enough to reach the ship from the ground. The same check must be repeated to move from one section of the ship to another. Alternatively, a character can jump down from a higher to a lower section with a successful acrobatics check. So I'd probably allow an athletics check. Gillian could maybe use her jumping, although I forgot what her jumping is. I think it was closer to like 20 or 30 feet, though. I don't think she could literally jump all the way up to the top thing, but I'd probably let her jump onto a branch. So it'd take her probably 2 rounds to get up to the next one. I guess if you fail, you're fall. How do you all work that? If it's a climbing check, if they fail the check, do you say like, well, you can't climb up, or do you say, well, you climb up halfway and then fall? I've always wondered how we do climbing checks. Do you punish them by having them fall some length of distance? If it's just one check for the whole climb, that's 50 feet. Do they take any falling damage if they fail, or do they just not make it up? I would probably argue they would take some falling damage. That's a pretty easy check, too. So you'd have to really fuck things up to fall. Obviously not the full distance. Maybe like 20 feet you would fall or something. Which, I mean, that's the weirdest thing about D&D is that the falling rules. Like if I fell 20 feet in real life, I'm taking a lot more than fucking 2d6 worth of damage. I am, I'm almost dead. I think, if not dead, depending on which way I fall. Like falling damage is really not much of a thing. How bad they fail to check. That's yeah. I hate to do too much of a rule like that, but you can be like, oh, if you fail by 5 or more, then you take this much damage. That seems a little fiddly. Make them likely fall. Okay. So if they just do it like an 8, then just be like, well, you're not quite able to get a good foothold and you scramble down. If they roll like a 4, then you're like, all right, well, you really fucked up and fell off. Deck save's not a bad idea. I need to populate this with some more units. So I think I'm going to have maybe just a couple ghouls and then have it be like a couple more. Maybe on like the GM layer or something. Let's see. Can we put some bodies on this map? Dead bodies. If you fail to check by 5 or less, you're just stuck. 5 plus, you fall. Yeah, I don't think D&D has any rule. 5e has any rules like that, does it? Let's see. That's these are all hilariously dramatic. Some bikini armor chick just splayed out. Man. Really, I just need like bones. Everybody's armored. Maybe that one. That could work. Drawing. It's like person-sized, I guess. I don't know how big people are compared to tokens. We'll do like one more body and then just a bunch of blood. It's like a rock person. It's weird. Little people. Let's make you a little bigger. There we go. And then just get some blood. I'm not gonna detail that map too terribly much. Oh, it's too much blood. Too much blood. There we go. Do I have a nice blood pool? We just have like spots, don't we? It's actually kind of hard to see on this map. Let's put you on the map layer. I've used this one a lot. Like the looks like the drag marks from blood. Put that one on the map. Just a bunch of that's probably fine right there. Just a little pit where people died. Ghouls feasting on them, and then a couple of zombies just kind of rolling around too, I think. Not too many. Zombies aren't the most interesting creature. Kind of all gathered around like so. We can go ahead and roll hit points for these folks. Let's see. I do want to do the full. Do I want the full 8 zombies? Or ghouls. And just have more of them kind of underneath. I wonder if I actually want to put this tree on the map or just... I did put the X's here. It's again, it's a really hard thing because it's a top-down map and there's supposed to be things here, but the players are still going to want to move through the tree. This is all probably difficult terrain. It's just kind of a limitation of Roll20 to do like more 3-dimensional maps. Let's just put some more ghouls off to the side that the players don't quite see yet. Maybe they only see like this little cluster. And then if things get really interesting, I can always add more zombies from the side, but I think this will be enough. How many hit points do you have? Ghoulie. 5d8. Let's roll a bunch of 5d8s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Looks like we hit pretty close to average. What is average? 22. 23. Let's see, I've got hardly any lag when it's just me in Roll20. Wow, a lot of 22s. That's exactly average. Ooh, that's a sickly ghoul. 14, the runt of the litter. 32, we found the alpha. That's a big ghoul. And 26 and 24. A little bit of variety, why not? 6 and 24. I guess we can roll for the zombie. I figure because in this universe, if you die, you become a zombie. With the current rules I have in place with the Soulmonger. So I figured there would be some zombies around. We haven't fought undead in a while. You know, Vorn will be able to demolish these undead too, but Vorn will not be able to climb the trees, so Vorn can certainly help them here in this fight. And they have a lot of NPCs with them, so I don't expect this to be difficult at all. The difficult thing will be the fact that this is not a straight-up fight, but this is actually a rescue mission that players need to get up there and help them. And if they, worst case scenario, the players are just fighting down here forever, and then at some point I will have to introduce the gorilla zombies. They're like, oh, there's something coming up here, you know, to where the players have to really think about going up and rescuing them and not just cleaning up down here. I want to try to create that tense dynamic during the fight. I think that will take up the majority of tomorrow's session. So we've got the Grung ambush, the helpful ranching lizard folk that should offer them a long rest, and then I might just do some kind of flavor thing, like you see a bunch of Trainons flying overhead for the third one. And then they will arrive at the wreck of the Star Goddess. They will see a bunch of dead bodies on the ground. Alama will freak out. Probably want to call out for companions, or maybe somebody will see something stirring up there, to where the players need to know that this is still a rescue mission, even though there's a bunch of dead, undead here. Speaking of which, we need to put you all in the GM layer. You're to make it see that there are more enemies here than the players realize. And do I want to actually make any dynamic lighting on this map? I did say I wanted to have it be at night, which could create an interesting dynamic as well. Let's see, dynamic lighting. What do we got? We can, I guess, do it with that one. I don't even think I have dynamic lighting on this map, do I? Let's see, Star Goddess, Jungle. No, it says it's on. Enabled. Let's turn off global illumination. Alright, now let's see what it looks like here. Well, you've got dark vision. Who doesn't have dark vision? Oh, shit. Who's producing all this fucking sight? It's you, isn't it, Born? For whatever reason, on mine, if an NPC is given sight, then it counts as like light for everybody, so it's tricky for me to see. Let's at least make some. I think the nighttime will make this interesting too. Another dilemma. I don't think I want to draw too much dynamic lighting, other than we can section off the top half of this map, I guess. Let's go. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. You gotta do the sound effect or it doesn't work. There we go. Sections off. Oh shit, I gotta finish what I started. That's fine. Alright. So that section's off that map. Search for the living torch. Yeah. I don't know what's giving them light, but something's giving them light. Somebody, I probably put a torch on somebody and screwed that up, and it's not letting me look at their tokens right now. Oh well, I'll figure it out. I do that, and then it still does this. So I mean, it's the dynamic lighting is working here, but something is giving them massive amounts of sight. You can see she's got dark vision, so the ones without dark vision. Wait, what is going on here? That's bizarre too. It's not actually moving the thing around. I don't know. I promise I will figure it out and get to the end of that, to make sure they don't see too much. But the other thing will be the wreck of the Star Goddess map. I think I want to put that at night as well, which will be equally more terrifying to have to scale this tree and have these zombies approaching. Now it is pure darkness, and there's no light up here other than what the players bring themselves. So I think that'll be fun. Let's roll real quick for the zombie hit points, and then I'll probably call this a session. And I've been needing to sneeze for like 5 minutes. I can't do it. My eyes are just watering. Ugh. 10 plus 21. Yeah, I think it's something to do with all those NPC allies screwing up my vision. Whoa, that is a beefy one. 79. Lord. I hope that's not too many hit points. I just don't want these guys to be... Because undead don't retreat, so they would have to kill these things. And would they be able to save anyone? I need to be cognizant of really not having... I mean, I can tease that they're coming, but I don't want them to appear on the map until at least one player has reached up here. Because I really want them to at least save the captain. These guards are all here designed to be killed. They're a bunch of red shirts. I would like for them to at least be able to save the captain, which I need to write some dialogue for them as well. And then, I haven't really thought about the aftermath, but obviously they're going to have a bunch of people, hopefully, that need rescuing, and they're still in the middle of the jungle. So are the players going to be like, well, we need to all go back to Camp Vengeance, or maybe we send them with one of our... We either send them on their own as a party, you know, we rest up here and, I don't know, try and send just Alama's group back to Camp Vengeance or some way, or do we just keep everybody with us? It'll be kind of up to the players. But at that point, Alama will definitely be like suggesting the fact that, look, do you have a safe place where we can go? Because we don't need to be going into dungeons with you all. These guys are not in good shape. Or are they going to be like, well, we'll send the Tabaxi with them, or send Azaka or something? That would support that as well. So hopefully they will be able to rescue him. The only issue is the players don't really get anything out of this other than hopefully feeling good about themselves. Because there's really, at this point, nothing in the Wreck of the Star Goddess. It has been destroyed. So I'm thinking I may have, maybe they have seen something from the sky when they were traveling, and maybe they can provide the players with some information, which is always an interesting reward. So we'll have to determine where exactly the skyship came in at, and then maybe they will be able to tell the players, like, hey, we think we saw, you know, especially if they come from the west, then they'll be able to give the players all the information about, hey, we think there's a lot of pirate activity in the Jahaka Bay, and then we saw this interesting, like, shipwreck, this palace built around a shipwreck, which is, I'm using the Dangwaru dungeon from the Turtle package, which will be Gillian's personal quest. So I could provide a lot of information there. I still haven't quite finalized that, but I think it will be like an information reward rather than any kind of other reward. And obviously, we are getting close to them leveling up to 5. Ideally, because at that point they've have done Mabala, Dungrunglung, and Wreck of the Star Goddess. That's 3 locations at level 4, and they will be nearing the amount of time they've spent at level 2 and 3. They've probably reached that point at level 2, not quite level 3 yet. I would like them to do Oralunga, I think, still at 4. Or, depending on which direction they go, I think I'd like them to do one more location at level 4 before leveling up to 5. Because at 5, we have to do basically the rest of the top half of the jungle without them leveling up in order to try to keep the balance. So they have to do, whichever one they don't do, Oralunga, Heart of Uptau, Nangalore, basically this entire eastern half. Firefinger, Needle's Bones, Kirsabal, if they want to do all that stuff, would be level 5. And then I don't want them to hit 6 until they get access to the ship and then can go around and do the Jahaka Bay area and the Wormheart Mine. And then 7 will be reaching Omu. That is the plan. All right, thank you all for joining me for this week's Crafting Annihilation. If you like my content, do check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. Thank you, Michael, so much for jumping on board. Tune in tomorrow for our next Tomb of Annihilation live play session. I will see you all there.